In the middle of an argument, have you ever wondered if saying nothing at all could be your greatest weapon? It feels counterintuitive, doesn't it? We're taught to speak up, defend ourselves, make our point loud and clear. But what if the real power doesn't come from what we say, but from what we don't say? Silence isn't about surrender, it's about control over the situation, and more importantly, over yourself. As the saying goes, the quieter you become, the more you're able to hear. In moments of conflict, silence can give you the clarity that words cannot. It allows you to observe, reflect, and most importantly, to respond rather than react. Imagine the strength of standing firm while the storm rages around you, unshaken by the chaos of words. That's what we're diving into today. The art of using silence as your secret weapon in conflict. If you're ready to master the ability to stay calm and composed when the world is trying to provoke you, hit that subscribe button. Let's explore how silence can become your greatest strength. 1. Mastering the pause. Before reacting. In the heat of conflict, it's natural to feel the urge to respond immediately, to defend your stance, or to counter an attack with swift words. But here's where silence becomes your secret weapon. The moment you pause instead of reacting is the moment you take control, not just of the situation, but of yourself. The pause creates space, allowing you to step back and observe the emotions rising inside you and the dynamics of the conversation. Rather than reacting impulsively out of anger, frustration, or fear, silence gives you time to process what's really happening. It's not about bottling up your emotions, it's about gaining perspective. When you pause, you move from being a passive participant in the conflict to an active observer, and that shift alone can change the entire trajectory of the argument. Think of silence as a moment to gather your thoughts and assess the situation logically, rather than letting emotions drive your response. This pause lets you ask yourself critical questions. What's really being said here? Is the other person attacking you, or are they just reacting out of their own frustration? Are you about to say something you might regret? Often, we realize that what seems like a personal attack isn't really about us. It's a reflection of the other person's internal state. Silence allows you to avoid getting sucked into their emotional storm and instead respond with calm, clarity, and precision. Moreover, mastering the pause isn't just about you, it impacts the other person as well. Silence often unsettles those who are expecting a quick retort. When someone expects you to fight back and you don't, it disarms them. They might be braced for confrontation, but your silence introduces a break in the pattern. It gives the other person a moment to reflect on their own behavior, often causing them to tone down their aggression. Silence can act like a mirror, reflecting the intensity of their words back at them, making them reconsider their approach. It shifts the balance of power, placing it firmly in your hands. In many ways, the pause is the ultimate act of self-control. It shows that you are not swayed by external circumstances or by the emotional upheaval of others. It's a demonstration of inner strength. Instead of engaging in the immediate back and forth that often escalates conflict, you choose to rise above it. By remaining silent in key moments, you communicate that you are calm, composed, and in command of your emotions. And when you do choose to speak, your words carry far more weight because they are measured, thoughtful, and intentional. The pause, then, is not about avoiding conflict, but mastering it. It allows you to defuse tension, gain clarity, and ensure that when you do respond, you do so from a place of strength rather than weakness. Mastering the art of silence before reacting is the first step in turning conflict into a powerful opportunity for growth, resolution, and ultimately, personal mastery. 2. Observing without engaging. One of the most powerful tools in navigating conflict is the ability to observe without immediately engaging. In conflict, emotions run high, and it's easy to get swept up in the intensity of the moment. But stepping back and observing allows you to maintain clarity, even when tensions rise. Instead of diving into the emotional turbulence, you take a moment to assess the situation from a distance. This detachment is not about ignoring the problem. It's about positioning yourself in a place of strength where you can see the conflict for what it truly is. When you observe without immediately engaging, you notice things you might otherwise miss in the heat of an argument: tone of voice, body language, and underlying motivations. People often reveal more in how they speak than in what they say. By staying silent and watching, you gain insight into the other person's true emotional state. Are they truly angry at you, or are they projecting their frustration from another area of their life? Are they being defensive because they feel vulnerable? By observing, you begin to understand the root of their behavior, which allows you to respond with empathy rather than escalating the situation further. Another advantage of observing is that it gives you the opportunity to identify manipulation tactics that might be at play. In many conflicts, the other party may use tactics like guilt, blame shifting, or exaggerated emotions to gain control of the narrative. When you're too quick to engage, you risk falling into these traps, reacting emotionally rather than thoughtfully. But by observing in silence, you can recognize these tactics for what they are and refuse to play along. You maintain your mental clarity, which in turn allows you to stay focused on finding a solution rather than getting lost in emotional games. Moreover, silence as observation gives you time to assess the impact of your future words. Before you speak, you can ask yourself, what is the outcome I want from this conversation? Will my words help diffuse the situation or inflame it further? Silence provides the space to weigh your responses carefully, ensuring that when you do choose to engage, your words are intentional and aligned with the outcome you desire. This level of mindfulness is the key to resolving conflicts without unnecessary drama or emotional fallout. Observing without engaging also serves as a form of boundary setting. By not immediately jumping into the fray, you signal that you won't be dragged into reactive behavior. You show that you are in control of when and how you participate in the conversation. This detachment can actually disarm the other person. When they see that their emotional intensity isn't getting the reaction they expected, they may be forced to reflect on their own behavior and adjust their tone. In the end, observing without engaging is about maintaining your emotional and mental clarity in conflict. It helps you gather valuable insights, see beyond the surface of the argument, and respond with calm and precision. By using silence as a tool for observation, you can navigate conflict with greater understanding, control, and a focus on resolution rather than escalation. Silence as a tool for diffusing anger. In the heat of conflict, anger is often the most dangerous fuel. It escalates arguments, blinds people to reason, and leads to hurtful words that can't be taken back. But there's a powerful tool you can use to diffuse anger: silence. When tempers flare, the instinct is often to fight fire with fire, but silence has the opposite effect. It cools the flames. Remaining silent when someone is angry not only gives you control over your own emotions, but can also serve to calm the other person down. In many cases, anger is fueled by engagement. When you argue back, you feed the other person's fury. By choosing silence, you take away that fuel, giving space for emotions to settle. Silence doesn't mean passivity. It's a form of active restraint. By staying quiet, you're not giving in or letting someone walk all over you. You're allowing the heat of the moment to pass before making a move. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The best revenge is not to be like your enemy." In conflict, when someone is shouting or accusing, they are often looking for a reaction. They expect you to respond in kind, escalating the tension further. But when you respond with silence, you disrupt the cycle of escalation. It's disarming. The absence of reaction forces the other person to confront their own anger without the fuel of your words. In many cases, they may begin to reflect on their behavior and even regret their outburst. Another way silence diffuses anger is by giving you time to collect your thoughts. Anger clouds judgment and can push you to say things you don't mean. By staying silent, you create a buffer between your emotions and your actions. This pause allows you to process the situation more rationally, preventing you from being swept up in the heat of the moment. You regain control, ensuring that when you do respond, your words are measured, thoughtful, and free of emotional reactivity. Silence allows you to act rather than react. It's the calm before the storm, but in this case, the storm subsides and you emerge with clarity. Silence also gives the other person space to reflect on their own words and actions. Often, when someone is angry, they are driven by impulsive emotions rather than rational thought. Your silence creates an uncomfortable void, one that can make the other person reconsider their position. In the absence of your reaction, they might start questioning their own behavior, wondering if they've gone too far or if they're misjudging the situation. This moment of reflection can lead to de-escalation as the person begins to cool off and think more clearly. In short, silence becomes your shield in conflict, protecting you from the damaging effects of reactive anger and giving space for rationality to return. By choosing silence in the face of anger, you don't just protect yourself, you often end up diffusing the situation entirely, opening the door to a more constructive resolution once the emotions have calmed down. As we circle back to the beginning, let's reflect on the power of silence in conflict. Remember when we started, questioning whether silence could actually be your greatest weapon in heated moments. Now you've seen how choosing silence can give you control over both the situation and yourself. It's not about being passive, it's about acting with intention, observing carefully, and responding with clarity. Silence is your strength. It diffuses anger, breaks patterns of escalation, and keeps your mind focused when others are lost in emotion. The power to handle conflict differently is now in your hands. But the question is, what will you do with this knowledge? Will you go back to reacting impulsively? Or will you practice the art of silence the next time you find yourself in a difficult conversation? Don't just close this video and move on. Take a small step today toward mastering your reactions, protecting your peace, and transforming your approach to conflict. As you reflect on these lessons, consider this. How many times have you spoken out of anger or reacted too quickly, only to regret it later? Now that you've learned the power of silence, the real question is, will you have the strength to stay silent when it matters most? Mastery of the mind isn't just about knowing when to speak, it's about knowing when to hold back. Life's greatest lessons aren't found in the noise, but in the quiet moments where clarity is born. Just like a sculptor chisels away to reveal a masterpiece, you now hold the chisel to carve out silence as your tool of power. The battlefield of conflict never truly ends, it evolves. And now, it's your turn to step onto it with the calm, silent strength you've discovered. Imagine a future where conflict doesn't rattle you, where you can pause, observe, and respond with wisdom and clarity. This life is within reach. And it starts now. The future isn't something that happens to us. It's something we create with our thoughts, our words, and yes, our silence. What kind of future will you create with this newfound strength? This may be the end of our conversation, but your journey with silence as strength is just beginning. Keep practicing, keep observing, and keep striving to master the art of calm in the face of chaos. You've taken the first steps on a path that never truly ends. Continue walking it with courage, curiosity, and conviction. Before you go, take a moment to reflect. How will you apply silence to your next conflict? Comment below with your thoughts. And here's a question to ponder. If silence speaks louder than words, what message will your silence send? If these insights resonated with you, hit the like button and subscribe for more wisdom on mastering the mind and living with strength.